Exited turn 4, coming down 4, the green flag. Boy, a little bit loose. He was on the gas, though,
he tried saving it, yeah.
He chased it, didn't catch it.
Yeah, he was on the gas. There's the green flag.
Still going.
Yeah, he's still waving that green flag.
Oh, if he'd have just kept it from rolling to Clark. Well, never mind. It was a wrecked car anyway.
Just right when you're jumping on the throttle. Broke loose.
And then broke.
Traction.
So his qualifying has started.
Let's try and figure out what happened.
This was over in the middle of turn 2. You see the car, he was on the throttle, probably already wide open, and the car wiggled with him, and he kept almost correcting it, and it just finally came around with him, and he kissed the outside wall.
Yeah, and from that viewpoint right there, Larry, almost the way the car went up the racetrack makes me think maybe it bottomed out. It got down in there and actually bottomed out, and when it did, it shot him up the racetrack. You see tire smoke. I think it shot him up the racetrack, and he got out of control and into the wall he went. He did a pretty good job of just keeping it off the wall, not hitting any harder than what he did.
Things happen fast.
This thing just steps out on Dave down here at the back end. He just starts around. It's about where you try to mat it, pick the throttle back up, and when he did, looks like the back end just came around. That's unfortunate.
Well, it's tough for this team, too. They've had now 4 drivers in the last season and a half.
Yeah, just came around with him in a hurry.
Yeah, that's kind of where you are trying to make that really hard turn to get the car to come up off the corner, and when you start to put the wheel to it and the gas at the same time, it's got to be there for you. You can't be loose like that.
Blaney's a former pole winner here in the Busch.
See right there, it got that left front wheel down on that apron, and that's a different banking than the actual racetrack, and it shot it up the racetrack, got it loose, and there you see the results.
I was going to say, that's exactly what it did. When you get that left front down on that apron like you do, it basically unloads the car, and the car just basically snaps around. I mean, he has no way to recover from that. Just clips it right there, and away it goes.
But you're right, Mike. He knew he was a go or go home. He had to stand on it. Of course, you're trying quite a bit harder than you would have practiced, and this is the results.
And you get down
into the corner. You see the car a little wiggle, a little right there. He turns it down in the corner, and it's just going to come around with him. You see, he tried to correct it by turning back to the right, but it was too late. It's just happening. This is happening at almost 200 miles an hour.
You see just a little bit of correction before the car takes off right there. And the car, in a blink of an eye, it's gone.
And that is a hard lick.
The car kind of bobbles on him right there, gets loose. He gets up a little bit high and tries to catch it, and away she goes.
That's a hard hit. I mean, a very hard hit. Yeah, I mean, on fresh tires here, you pick the throttle up so early. Back in the middle of the corner, you're carrying so much speed, and you just saw it get loose with him on acceleration. That overcorrect.
Let's see, was he high up the racetrack?
I think a little bit high. You try to see, he's a little bit high right there, and you try to pull it down right there, and you lose that banking, and it's not much grip. And the one other thing right there, and not to criticize the young man because he is a rookie, but they'll tell you in these drivers' meetings, these veterans will tell you when it gets loose like that, turn it to the left, lock it up, and spin it around. And he tried to catch it, and he got away from it.
He was up the racetrack about a half a lane.
And that was a hard lick. You notice the car come all the way up off the ground.
Wham!
Oh.
And the country crock car is headed apparently for the...
It's down into turn 1, right in the middle of 1. It's starting to get loose right there. It jumped a little loose with him. He's trying to pull it back down to the bottom, but the more he tries to pull it to the bottom, the looser it gets. Gets that wobble up off of 2. Doesn't hit the wall all that hard. The right rear gets into it, but it didn't. Like I said, I believe they can fix that car.
He's very lucky he didn't come down and slam the inside wall, which is normally what happens here. Wow.
And one of the things, Larry, about as the temperature goes up, as it gets hotter and in the summertime, one of the things I learned was you got that big sway bar, that 2-inch sway bar. When the tracks are cool and the tracks are fairly, and the weather's fairly cool, you can run that.
Happen. He was way low on the apron right there. That may have got the car out of shape.
He had that little bit of a wiggle and just never could quite catch up with it. Another angle. There's that little wiggle, and he has to try to lead the car up to the racetrack to catch the back end, but unfortunately, before he caught the back end, the wall was there.
That was the beginning of Larry's second lap. His first lap. That's a sickening sound.
And that's usually the deal here. Usually you're loose on the second lap here.
Tires start losing some grip.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel it, like I said.
Just gets in the corner. Boy, you hate to see that driver's side impact.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't think it would. That was a real good lap for our Caterpillar car.
Got the safer barriers up there, so that helps a little.
And that's what we're, talking about. Mark Martin talked about it, having the cars, when you have them for the race.
Day today for him.
You could just see as he was in the throttle off turn 2, the car just broke loose with him and just came around. But, yeah, the worst news even yet will be he will go home. He will not make this show.
But, Larry, watching the car out there, he is actually going in. It looked like he was about a half a car width too high through middle of 1 and 2, which was going to make his exit even more of a higher than what it would normally be. And he got up there in that little bit of gray stuff, and around the back end came around right on him, right there.
Looked like he was maybe about a half a lane too high.
About half a lane.
Now, that will be good news for Scott Gaylord in the 7 car, because this will bump him into the show. You're already well in the throttle back there, and you'll see the wheels cut to the right there. He knew he was loose and was just trying to save it, but it was too far gone.
Too far gone, and again, if you listen to the sound.
In the corner, and right here, the car just basically a little bit too loose. They're trying to get that speed, and Ricky just nails the gas, trying to keep it off the fence, but it would not spin around, make that 360 and lose momentum. Backed her in the fence. Another angle. And see, boy, he really smokes those rear tires, doesn't he, Bob? Mm-hmm. On that gas. Now he finally hits the brakes, and so the gas didn't work. Let's try the brakes.
Right there, as you see the car break away, and then he lays down some marks on the pavement and up into the wall hard.
You see that? Those things leaving black marks on the racetrack. Look at that left rear, just leaving a black mark as it goes through.
So the Texaco Haviland Ford is damaged severely. Ricky Ruff.
What happens here?
They just coming really fast. He gets way out wide right there, trying to set up for the chicane. He gets in there, and when he tries to cut back to the right, yikes, around she goes, and not forgiving at all.
And this will be a threefold problem. He will not complete his qualifying lap. He was one of the cars that had to qualify on speed, and, of course, he has a tore-up race car.
A lot of pressure to put on guys on a road course, knowing you got to get in on your speed.
But, Darrell, look at how much weight, side-to-side weight transfer that car had.
Stretch off into turn 3.
Got in, it's like he got in a little bit too high and got in the brakes a little too hard.
And it's like the minute he touched the brake pedal, possibly right in that area, the back end just came around. Because what will happen, Jeff, is you know, we were talking about Terry Labonte's car a while ago having dual master cylinders. The driver, the crew chief, will adjust the brake bias to put just as much rear brake in it as you can. That way that keeps the car from pushing or not turning under braking. But if you get too much rear brake in it here, what'll happen, the minute you touch it, it wants to come around.
And that's a transitional place too, Larry. When you start to transfer that weight back to the front nose, the back end gets light. Again, so when you touch that brakes, back end comes around real quick.
Well, you saw the front lock first. That may not be so much bias as all the weight transferring to the front of the car going into the corner. Wow, that's a shame.